Howdy, howdy. It is Monday. We've done some reading this week, some really good reading. Let's talk about what I read, what I didn't like. There's a couple of books I did not like, including one that I thought was absolute garbage. But we're going to go over that real quick so we can get to the books that I enjoyed and the books that I really enjoyed. So if this is your first time here, we got Yaira protecting us. We got Junkyard Joe reporting for duty. And we're going to start off with the books that I read and did not care for, including one that was absolute garbage. I will be discussing spoilers. This is a full spoiler. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. So if I get to a book, you can just fast forward ahead and you'll probably be safe. But just so you know, I am going full spoilers. Imperial War Exiles. Normally don't care for Steve Fox on Marvel work, but I'm pulling all the Imperial War stuff. And I think this one was better than certainly She-Hulk. And I think art-wise, I liked it better than Black Panther. But again, I think because I don't know the actors in this. Like, I'm still not sure. I don't read X-Men, so I don't know Professor Xavier's spot. I still don't know his connection with the Shi'ar and the galactic stuff with the X-Men. I was even lost with that on the X-Men 93 stuff, or the old X-Men cartoon. But we got some political intrigue here. It's I would consider it like very Star Wars prequel with the different things going on with the political power vacuums and changes and everything. I thought the action was fine. I enjoyed the action that I saw. I just didn't know who everyone was. And that's nothing on the book. That's just me not knowing anything. Then we get the superheroes at the end. That sounds cool. It almost reminds me of the original, not the 2012 relaunch where they use the same characters as the movies, but we're getting an intergalactic superhero team. And of course it is the Exiles, right? I mean, I think that's the whole point. These are the new Exiles. So this is kind of like the setup for that. I'm still on the fence on what the Imperial War is setting up. I think this is setting up some cool stuff in the cosmic stuff. But again, like when I had Marvel Unlimited, this was years ago, I tried to read the Annihilation stuff. Gwenpool, number 5, I am a Gwenpool fan. I liked issue 1. And just after that, it just really dropped off. And this one, we hit rock bottom with this one. We get the bad guy is actually the author, the writer of the book. And even though they kept promoting it, this is the real Gwen, this is the real Gwen, they end up like, no, it's just a clone, it's a copy. And the writers, it's almost like they promoted it to heck on, this is the real Gwen, this is the real Gwen Stacy, resurrected. And then issue 3, they come out and say, oh no, it's actually a clone. I think it seems like they really wanted it to be the real Gwen Stacy and everybody hated that. And so they rewrote it to where it's a clone and it just doesn't land. It doesn't land, it's terrible. Not very good. The art gets real kind of unfinished, amateurish towards the end. And I don't think that's the writer's fault. I think that they just didn't have much to go on with all the changes, if that was the case. And so we get Gwenpool. She's kind of a cyborg right now. You got Gwen Stacy clone off in the background. And then Jeff made an appearance in here. The best part of this book is that it's over and we can be done with this. Probably the worst Gwenpool. Didn't care for that one. All right, one more. I don't like talking about trash. I want to talk about the things that I like, but I also, want to share what I'm reading. I took a shot on this one, the Dusk. My LCS owner, she didn't talk me into it, but she has this thing where she can put out a better solicit than the actual solicits. And this is one where I probably should have read the actual solicit. I knew going into it, Alex Segura it's a toss-up. Some of their stuff is fine. Some of it's not for me. I wanted to like the question on DC. I thought I had a good start, but I just didn't like the way it kind of finished or even continued. But this one is, my LCS owner pitched it, hey, it's a new superhero. It's the Dusk. And I thought, okay, cool. I'll give it a try. And comics, again, I like some of their stuff. But this one is it started off fine. He's a nighttime crime fighter. But then his daughter's like, oh, well, this guy's just helping the cops. And they're starting with the whole all cops are bad. There's stuff on the report about justice for unhoused residents, which again just signals kind of okay, I kind of understand where they want to take this comic book, and I'm not interested in that at all. This scene, this is the one where I'm like, all right, this is officially 1 star. They go to this estate, and he's like, doesn't get more old Blackstone than this. That's the city. Rich, white, and detached. And it's like, well, what does that make the city? Poor, black, and I don't know. With that language is just not helpful. It's pretty ignorant, honestly. And that's when I was like, okay, I'm done. Continued reading it, and it's an interesting setup, right? This guy has a dad, I guess, who not even abandoned him, but he just didn't know him. So apparently he grew up, I guess, with his mom. Never knew his dad, and apparently his bio dad was a rich dude, a Bruce Wayne type. So now he's got this estate and this money, and he's going to use the money to fight crime. But why, we don't really know. And there's some interesting conflict in there. I just don't care for the way that they're writing it. So not interested at all. So no thank you for that. All right, let's get into, man, 6 minutes. I hate to talk about all the stuff that I don't like. Let's get into the stuff that I thought was okay. Starting with Immortal Batman. And this one is actually a little bit controversial because I think it's a great book. I actually do think it's a great book. It's just not for me. I think there's a lot of young folks that are going to like it. I think the story here is interesting, where we kind of find out that the Immortal, I'm going to call it this, all these guys, the Immortal Legends. The Immortal Legend Bruce Wayne is stowaway on this, not stowaway, but he's disguised on this intergalactic trip or whatever, the space trip, because he's trying to infiltrate this gang. And yeah, it's interesting. It's got some great action here. And we get Bane going Super Saiyan, I guess. I don't know exactly what you would call that. But it's super interesting. But again, it's not my cup of tea. I think it's a great one. It's just not for me. So I went ahead and removed it from my pull list. If you want issues 1 and 2, come send me a message somehow. AmericanTexan13@gmail.com. And I'll send it to you. I'd love for you to have it. I'm going to give it to my LCS to consign or buy back. I'd rather go to someone that I know is going to read it and wants it. Rockefellers number 8. I'm still enjoying the Rockefellers. This one just was a little bit of a sleeper issue. This is another explainer issue, which was nice to have in issue 7 before this, because we finally kind of got to understand, hey, what happened in the future, which is actually their past. And we're continuing a lot of this stuff. We find out a little bit about how the time witness protection works, and a little bit more about their time before they got in trouble and had to go back in time. Learn a little bit more about the brother. Jacob, I guess, is not Jacob. Jacob's the owner of the company. The brother was Richie, I think. This one was good. I didn't really understand who all the characters were. Kind of ends on this weird cliffhanger. Not sure where that's going. But once I did read once I read Reggie's bio, I was kind of this kind of like almost tells you everything that happened in the comic book. And it's like, once you read this, you're like, oh, now I understand it. And when you go back, it's a much more enjoyable read because you kind of understand who all the characters are. So we really need something to happen in the next issue of the Rockefellers. We need, I love the sitcom, comedy. I love the heart in it. But these last couple explainer issues are just, we need something to happen. It's getting a little boring. It's getting a little bit more too much. This is more of a trade than a monthly, and we shouldn't have that for more than a couple issues at once. So we really need something to happen in the next issue. Another one that I want to like, and I'm actually going to keep it on my pull, is Marvel Zombies Red Band. I should be concerned with opening it up and showing you, but this one I'm not, because one of the things that I don't like about this book, and there's a couple things that I do like. I'll start with what I don't like, is I think the art was a little too wishy-washy. Almost like, some of the gore, it's not actual gore, it's just plops of red with random body parts inside of it. And that's, if done well, I think it can be really good and scary and horrifying, but this one is just too cartoony. It's like, let's just throw in some random eyeballs in this gobbledygook of coagulated blood. So it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work for me. I think the coloring is fantastic. I really like the coloring. But the thing that I do like, and the reason I'm going to keep it on my pull list, is I like what they're doing with playing with what it seems like playing with the traditional Marvel stories, but with a zombie twist. So this one is the Fantastic Four coming back, but as zombies. Now, I was a little confused because they come back and they pretty much automatically start knowing how their powers work. And I was kind of like, well, shouldn't they come back and be figuring out how their powers work? But instead, like, they're also zombies. But no, they come back and Sue's making invisibubbles. Reed is stretching up. Thing is, of course, the Thing, and Johnny Storm's already flying around. So that kind of didn't make sense to me. It's not a deal breaker. Just kind of didn't make sense. But I do like that we get gold suit Iron Man. We get Spider-Man figuring things out. We get the Teen Brigade. That was like, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I really like where this is going. Hulk is still kind of, savage, I guess, or whatever. And then we get a little bit of a twist on how Uncle Ben and Aunt May die. And so overall, though, I thought it was interesting. It's an interesting concept, and I'm the optimist. I'm the optimist that's like, hey, if it's a good premise, I'll stick with it. Even though the execution, especially with Marvel books, is lacking, I'll stick with it because I will take that gamble, because there are some books that I'm like, I don't know about this one, and they end up paying off really well. I do like that Hulk ripping Reed Richards. I thought that was cool. And they're like, I didn't know he could do that. And he's like, I don't know how he's doing that. And you get a little bit of a mix of, well, Thor's dead, which I didn't care how they killed off Thor. You get Golden Suit Iron Man, you get classic Daredevil, And instead of forming the Avengers, they have formed the Defenders, essentially. So I thought that was interesting. And then we get this weird thing here. Silver Surfer, this weird epilogue, and he's flying, and he's like, oh, where are the stars? Reading through it, it looks like they're going to do Infinity Gems. They're going to do a couple of classic stories, but with a zombie twist. So I'm interested in that. I'm going to check it out. And then the Batman, this is a good segue because I really enjoyed this one. I actually enjoyed this one a lot more than the first night, I think is what it was. This is part 2, essentially. I really like the art here. It does get a little long sometimes with the talking, but the action ends up being good. And yeah, this is basically a continuation of the Great Depression Batman. And I'm really enjoying it. I think it's got a great setup, and Scarecrow is really horrifying in this one. I think it's really cool. It almost reminds me of Arkham Asylum Scarecrow. And so yeah, it was really interesting. It gets a little talky, a little bit too long. But again, it ends up setting up a really interesting story. So I am looking forward to this one and really enjoying it. I think I like it, and I like where it's heading a lot more than First Night that came before this one. So yeah, I'm really enjoying Batman the Second Night. And I like that art style, you know, it's nice. It's very noir. It gets a little cheesy. Like, I think that's a little cheesy, that little panel right there. And then we get this weird, let me tell you, this is why it's in the main. Now I remember, I'm like, why isn't this in my good pile? This is a weird scene. It's like when you're watching a Christian movie, okay? And they just like, I go back to one of my favorite movies, but it's just one scene that's just out of place. We're facing the Giants. It's a football movie. And this football player has a dad in a wheelchair. Dad's in the pantry and he's trying to reach for a can of, I don't know, whatever, green beans or something. And he tries to reach and he almost falls out of the chair. And his son's like, Dad, why don't you let me help you? And the dad's like, son, sometimes you can't let your own limitations help you by. You got to trust that God's going to give you whatever you need to get to. And I'm like, dude, you're just reaching for a can of green beans. Like, calm down, preacher. Like, that can work sometimes. Like in that same movie, there's that where he has to crawl across the field with the player on his back. And he's like, I can't make it, coach. I can't go 20 yards. And the coach is like, well, take off your blindfold because you made it to the end zone. It's like, yeah, like that's a great one. But the pantry scene, it's just lame. And so we get this one scene where like Batman shows up in a synagogue and the guy's like, how dare you? I can't believe you came and interrupted our synagogue. And Batman's like, I'm sorry. I'm like navel gazing. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I apologize. I disrespected you both. It won't happen again. Like, what? That just took me way out of it. Okay, so that was why I was in the maybe pile. I was like, why do we have this weird thing here? I'm sorry. That's weird. But the rest of the book was great. All right. Let's get into the books that I liked. Okay, so thank you so much. I don't think I've ever gone on that much of a tirade, but man, that's how much this stuff bothered me this week. All right, going into the books that I liked, starting with a surprise that I did not think I would like, which takes us to Escape number 2. Now, in my previous review, I read Escape number 1, and we had a miscommunication with my LCS. We've got a great girl there that does all the pull list management, and God bless her. I make it not easy for her because I'm always asking for different covers and I've got just this wild pull list. But anyways, there was a miscommunication because I am pretty sure I got Escape number 1 off the shelf because I don't remember pre-ordering it. But I read Escape number 1 and I thought, I don't know if I like this. I don't like the dialogue, the way Remender's writing it. So I decided I'm not going to add it to my pull list. Well, come last week, this was on my pull list and it was in my pull box. And I was like, oh, I remember getting number 1, but I don't think I added it to my pull list. Pulled up my messages and like, sure enough, there it is. And I'm like, all right, well, if I asked for it, I'm going to get it. I'm still in this weird era this weird month where I was transitioning from pulling a lot of stuff to try a lot of different stuff to really just pulling what I know I'm going to like to read. I'm trying to get my costs down on my weekly pulls. I got one more super heavy week in October. And then after that, it gets a lot more manageable. But anyways, so I got it, decided to read it. And again, number 1, I did not care for too much on. I thought the action was great. The art was great. Doesn't care the way that Remender was doing the dialogue and really trying to just lean heavily into the justifications of war or the non-justifications of war. And then also I thought, if you're going to do anthropomorphism for to try to generate empathy, making the Nazis bats doesn't generate that much empathy. That's just me. Okay, but let's go into the book here. I actually super enjoyed this one because he's on the run in enemy territory, and I love this first page of dialogue actually, where he's like, right now, all you're trying to do is remember why you're here. And there's a chance that you're not going to make it out of here, but you're going to make it better. Like if you're not going to make it out, make it better and make it worth it. And this is where he's like, I'm probably gonna not make it out, but at least I'm gonna make the world better for my son. And it's kind of implied he's gonna do not a suicide run, but a run to take out this tank. Like if he's not gonna make it out, he's gonna not make it out by doing the goal. Then he talks about his wife. Then we get a flashback. This is just great to see, like, he's living his own life, but he meets this woman. She elevates him to live for something more. So he's very much like I'm gonna go my own way kind of guy. And she ends up loving him and showing him that there's more to the world than just going his own way. They start a family. He starts to realize, like, he can't just do whatever he wants. He has other things to live for. His wife is pregnant and he sells the plane, the love of his life. He sells his plane. But again, it's not so much that he's giving up his dreams, it's that he's living up to something even better. And I love the way that they did that. I think it's not so much what they're saying, it's about how they say it. Not to sound illogical there, but I'm like, I think, he's dealing with, this wasn't an easy decision for him. I understand where they were trying to go, just didn't think the execution there was good. And then, he realizes, what the war is doing and what the Access people are doing. And, he's like, this might be the next step for me to live for a greater purpose. And so then he's cornered and it kind of ends there. I actually really like this backstory. It makes me like the character a lot more. This is probably what we were missing in issue 1, where I was saying I couldn't really connect with the characters because I didn't really know who they were or how serious I should take them. And the things that they were saying, I just didn't have a plumb line to measure it against. But now I do. So now I'm actually like, let's keep reading. So we'll go into Escape number 3 for that coming up next. Racer X, I've been super enjoying Speed Racer, and of course I wanted to pull Racer X, and this did not disappoint. We get some backstory on Racer X and why he ran away from home and why he's part of the car acrobatic team, and why he had to leave the team and how he had to leave the team. And just really good action. And again, I did not think cars could translate that great on comic books, but man, they are doing it here. So now we've got an introduction. This is basically the Racer X origin story. It's a one and done, but they're obviously continuing, and I am sold. I am all in on the Speed Racer universe that Mad Cave is building up. I really enjoyed this Phantom. Man, the only thing that would have made this book better is if it was on newsprint. If it was on pulpy paper, man, that would have made this perfect. I love the coloring. This is just classic comic bookness. This is everything Mad Cave is doing well, is doing right. Really good introduction to the character without going into too much detail. Without this being a straight up backstory, there's still a lot of questions like, how did he get there to that village? How long has this village been around? He's obviously the only white guy in the village. So like, what's the story with that? But the village loves him. So what's the story with that? It's just super interesting. And, they know that I love the idea that this is almost another Batman character where he is a mortal man. Everything he does, he has trained himself up to do, but he's donning a costume that makes him like a legend that he has to live up to. And, he has to protect them from this drug invaders that are coming in. It's that drugs crash landed near his village, which then put the village on the drug runner's radar. And now that the drug runner knows about the village, the drug runner wants to have control over it. Interesting way to start the story. And I really, really enjoyed it. I think it's fantastic. I hope we can see more. I think you nailed it for an issue 1. I am in on this one, The Phantom. All right, and then now let's go to books that I really, really enjoyed. And thankfully, this pile is much thicker. Starting with Green Lantern, I got to get the family covers. I got to get the couple covers. Not the ones that are all like, I don't know what to describe it other than like, not the ones that are actually like a nice, family or a nice couple cover here. So I really like this one. This one gelled with me. I don't get a lot of DC variant covers because they're $1 more and they're basically just stapled on top of the A cover, which I don't like. But this one I decided to get. So I don't know who did the cover. I don't remember who did the cover on this one. Is there a signature on here? Even if there's a signature, I may not recognize it. Look it up later. But anyways, so now we're at the source wall. We've got all of the emotional spectrum stuff happening, and we realize that they're not exactly the same spectrums that we are familiar with. We get White Lantern Kyle coming in here. Beautiful art. Really enjoyed this one. Green Lantern Corps didn't really have a great start with me. Oh my gosh, look at this. So amazing. And I like that V. Marion put his name on that one. Like, it's so good. I love that a lot. Yeah, so really good action. And now we got, I don't want to say like now we got stakes because we've always had stakes, but to see them get some more emotion and like, okay, like we're gonna have to make a deal with these guys, and it's not exactly the one that you want to make, but it's the one that you have to make considering the circumstances. Just makes it blow off the page. This is so good. I love this so much. Green Lantern. Actually, no, this isn't Green Lantern Corps. This is Green Lantern 26. My apologies. This is Green Lantern proper, number 26. Really liked that one. Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong. This one started off slow, and I was even thinking like, am I going to want to stop pulling this, or am I going to have to keep pulling this? But it really picks up. They did a really good job of, Superman being depowered is kind of getting old, but they continue to find new ways to make it work. So Superman's like, hey, look, I understand you. I need to earn your respect, so we're gonna have to fight. Godzilla keeps, really just breaking him down. But then Supergirl shows up and they go for like a double punch, and then that's not working. And so, they got to try to figure out, and then Green Lantern shows up, and it's just, it's one of those things where, your character is going to keep getting beaten, but it's not just, he becomes giant Superman. I mean, that's just so cool. He's a little bit savage though. And so, there's kind of some negative repercussions for that as well. And so now we're kind of like, what's happening? Now some other kaijus are showing up. I think that's Ghidorah. Is that Ghidorah? So a little bit of slow of a start, but it really builds up. And I'm like, okay, now I'm ready to get into it. And then I think we still have the wedding something or other happening in the background. So I'm interested to see if that'll come back at the end. Super interesting, super good stuff with that. Moving right along, we got Huck, Big Bad World, number 4. We get Huck helping out some more people, and his mom is having to help out as well. They're at this house, and he finds out, what was it? So they're at the house that they were at last issue, and they end up leaving them. That's right. And, his mom does a little psychic test and finds out that, okay, this guy's on the up and up. So now they're going back home. Huck does his good deeds of the day on the way home. And then they come and find his ex-girlfriend, the one that broke his heart. And we find out that she's pregnant, and the dude that she left him for has left her. And this is just heartbreaking because he's like, he likes her, but he's like, at least he's smart enough maybe to not pick up the pieces of this situation. But he's about to do the right thing, or at least he's ready to do the right thing, but his mom ends up intervening, and his mom kind of humiliates him, really puts the pressure on him. But unfortunately, now she's in public, which means the guys that created the program that made all the metas know where she is, and we got this really heartbreaking end. You just got to wonder what Huck's going to do about it in the next issue. Next issue is going to be heartbreaking, but also a little bit maybe of a John Wick situation. Opposite of Huck, what a great way to segue into Nemesis Forever. Man, Nemesis is back. He is just putting the pain on everyone, on the city, and he's just kind of going full on terrorist in this one. And we don't really know why. He's just setting up something. And we kind of get a little inkling of, maybe we'll find out why he's doing this in the next issue. But for now, he's just being a full-on, just awful person. Oh, look at that. I just noticed it. It reads, "I'm back" on the cover. Look at that. This one is, it's not like, this is just straight up like an egotistical, narcissistic bad guy. And it's not one that they're like pretending is good or trying to get you to empathize with. It's just, let's just see how wild we can get on this one. And from most writers, I probably wouldn't want to read this, but since I know Mark Miller's got a good head on his shoulder and a nice spiritual heart in his chest, I'm like, all right, let's just see what he does, because at least I know he knows that this isn't good. He's not trying to say it's good. A fun read, and it's just interesting to see just how wacky and zany it gets. Teen Titans Go, I think this was my favorite issue of Teen Titans Go, number 7. They travel to the future, and man, this issue really made me want to pick up some trades or an omnibus of who the Legion of Superheroes is. Because they travel to the future, and now it's the Legion of Super Titans. And they want to try to see if one of the current day Titans will join their team, and they put him through the ringer. But it turns out not all is as it seems. They all got their names. The Legion of Superheroes have their names written on their shirts, and they're like, that's weird, I don't remember that. And we find out that not all is as it seems. It ends up being Hive, and they're trying to replace or go back and take the Teen Titans place. And then the whole MacGuffin of what started it ends up becoming like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing. It's just a lot of fun. I mean, the art is fun. It's simple. There's nothing to call home about, but it's just a nice break from everything else. But man, what a read. A Sisterhood, Hyde Street story. This one just gets even more wild. The girl is like still trying to infiltrate the sorority, and Violet is being incredibly violent. I wonder if that was on purpose. Violent, and has some more blackouts. This one just took me out of it. Like, she's like, oh, you know, we're going to take care of each other. Don't worry. You're going to be part of the Sisterhood. And then I can't remember the main girl's name, not Violet. She blacks out and then she comes back. This one really took me out of it. She's like, why would you do that? She's covered in blood. Her phone's covered in blood. She blacks out. The driver's passed out and the girls are about to crash. Violet says, jump, and the girl jumps, and just, I mean, oh my gosh, that just escalated so quick. Look at this. Look at this page. I love this page. Oh my gosh, just the art's really growing on me. I know when I started it, I was thinking like the art's not quite there. And then she blacks out again. She's like shooting cops or something, like, oh my gosh. And now she's arrested, and like, where could this possibly go? Oh my gosh. I absolutely loved that issue. That was an insane story. No surprise though, my top 2 indies of the week, and I blame these 2 for why I didn't read more books. Savage Sword of Conan. The only thing wrong with this book is the cover. What the heck is this cover? I realize now it's based on the last story. It's just not your traditional Savage Sword of Conan cover. I wish I'd gotten the B cover on this one, but my shop only ever orders cover A's. But this one, the theme of everything is serpent. We get to see the not Serpent Society, but the Set Serpent cult. We get to see what they've been doing across time. There was one panel of nudity. I hope I didn't accidentally show it. So let me just jump ahead. Conan gets kidnapped, and he finds out that they're shape-changing, and the girl he thought he was chasing that robbed them in the main Conan series, this is actually not them. They just use her face. Now he's got to get out of jail, and I love this. He gets out of jail with the others from the temple that they are trying to overtake. And yeah, just a good classic Conan story. Very good. I really enjoyed this one. This is like prehistoric times, pre-Conan. This woman comes home to her husband, but it's not her husband. And it turns out the Set cult has taken over the village and is duplicating everyone. And they basically got to fight their way out. I really enjoyed that one. A nice husband and wife team fighting their way out of a cult-stricken town. I didn't think I would like this one. Sailor Steve Costigan. I'm guessing this is another Robert E. Howard character that I just don't know about. Singapore in the 1930s. This American, I thought he was British at first, the way he talks. He talks a little cockney, but he's like, I should set the scene proper so you don't lose any of your bozos just staring at my handsome mug. I don't know. That sounded more like, maybe it's New York Irish. I don't know. I might go with all the international stuff. But anyways, 1930s American maybe. And so he's in Singapore and he's a sailor, but he ends up getting roped into a boxing match against a guy from the Set cult. And he's got this magical serpent ring that he's fighting for. And anyways, it was just a really interesting story. So overall, Savage Sword of Conan, really enjoyed. Thought that was great. But man, let me tell you something. Let me quote Comics Explained. Let me tell you something. Holy cow. I would not have enjoyed this book as much if I did not get the Treasury edition. Look at this thing. Like, I thought was pointing at it, but I got even further because that's how big this book is. Normally, this art doesn't really do anything for me, but on the newsprint, this is printed on newsprint, that pulpy paper. It feels so good. This story is not my typical story, but I'm in it for the art on this one because it just looks good. It feels good. They're fighting on an alien planet. It's a little bit of like Avatar, like you're following this native tribe and seeing what's happening. Overall, it was a very interesting story. It really picks up towards the end because at the beginning, you're just watching this cold open and you're learning a little bit about the relationship between the chieftain and his son. But then you get to the end and you find out exactly why the son is a little bit hesitant to become the chief. And it's because his son has not passed the Skinbreaker ritual, I guess. And it's a little bit embarrassing. Whereas the guy that does want to become chief or usurp the throne ends up putting his son prematurely. Just a lot of interesting cultural dynamics that really doesn't spell it out for you. But if you read carefully, you do get to see it. I love the letter at the back about why we're doing this. So this is not in my typical wheelhouse, especially to spend $15 on a Treasury edition, but it is an absolute pleasure to read. Again, everything's just working together. If this was on regular comic size, I probably wouldn't enjoy it as much. If this was not on pulpy paper, the newsprint paper, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much. But just having all of these together really made it work for me. So I'm going to continue to do the Treasury edition. I don't collect that much like this, but man, I think this is going to be something someday. So I want to have these Treasury editions to look back and read and reread. That paper feel, just you don't beat it. So this is my pick of the week. What did you guys think? Again, for indies, Skinbreaker, Savage Sword, Sisterhood, these were fantastic. DC had some good books. Marvel didn't really do much for me this week. Unfortunately, that's becoming kind of par for the course. But what did you read this week that you really enjoyed? I'm still playing catch up. I'm still like 2 weeks behind on my normal reads. I'm slowly trying to, get ahead on that one. But what did you guys think? What was your favorite reads of the week? What did you like that I shared today? Let me know in the comments below. Let's talk comics, let's nerd out, and subscribe if you haven't already. And I will see you all in the next video, which will be my Wednesday. Hey, let's see what I pulled from my comic shop. Adios.